So hopefully this will be the last video on direct and inverse proportion. We got down as far as the start of question C on example 6. So we've got D equals 4,800 divided by A. That was my formula that we'd written. Okay, inputting the value for A being 60, 4,800 divided by 60, and I would just calculate that, and that would be the answer of 80. So D equals 80 centimetres. Now it's good to go back to the question so that we can see that D equals centimetres, A equals centimetres squared. So we can see we put centimetres squared on area there, and we put centimetres, so always include the units when you're doing this. Example 7. This time we've got F in newtons is inversely proportionate to the square, just move the calculator for a minute, to the square of the distance in meters. So distance squared. Okay. So again, first step, find the K from the values that they give you. They tell you that F is 0.006 and D in this case is 2. Okay, so D in this case is 2. Okay, first step following the rules of BIDMAS, do the index first, in indices number first. 0.006 equals K divided by 4. To find K we want to eliminate the 4, so we do the inverse and get rid of it. That cancels, so times this by 4. So K is going to equal 0.024. Okay. Now if I put that back into the equation, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this value here and substitute the K. So F equals 0.024 divided by D squared. And that's the formula I'm going to use for the rest of the sum. Okay, so find F when D is 2.5. Okay, so for B, F 0.024 divided by 2.5 squared. 2.5 squared is 6.25. So I could put the next stage of working in, divided by 6.25. You could, if you've got a Casio or an Aurora calculator, you could put this all in at once. That's not a problem if you wanted to do that. So 0.024 divided by 6.25 gives me, so F is going to equal 0.00384. Okay. And then the last bit is going to be C. And again, I'm starting with the same formula, 0.024 divided by D squared. And in this case, we've got to find D when F equals 0.001, correct to 3 significant figures. So let's see where it goes. 0.001 equals 24 divided by D squared. Okay, so at this point, remember, if we want the subject at the bottom, we can't square root it at this point because it's not on its own. So we're going to swap these over. So we're going to rewrite it, D squared equals 0.024 divided by 0.001. And we're going to do that calculation first. 0.024 divided by 0.001 gives me 24. So D squared is equal to 24. To find D on its own, we're now going to square root both sides. So we want 24 square root. So D is going to equal 4.898979. And we wanted to 3 significant figures. Significant figures, remember, is anything that is a non-zero. So that's my first, that's my second, that's my third. What effect is the 8 going to have? Well, it's going to round the next digit up by 1. So that 89 would turn into 90. So it would be 4.90. And at this point, we do need to keep the 0 because that is in effect our third digit. Okay, so we can't get rid of that. So it would end up being, for question C, D equals 4.90. And again, remember, we're in F. Sorry, there, that's D. And D is in meters. And that's our answer. Okay, last one, example 9. Y is inversely proportionate to the square root of x. Just going to substitute in to find k. X is 64, square root, and y is 20. Remember, if I want to get rid of this, I've got to times by the square root of 64. 64 square rooted is 8. And if I times by that, my k is going to equal 160. Okay. Now whether you times it by square root 64 or you just times it by 8, either one would work. Okay, you could turn that into 8 first, this side, and then times it by 8. Alternatively, this side you could times by square root of 64. Either of those two would work. Okay, so we now know that k equals 160, so we're going to rewrite this formula with our k value in 160 divided by square root of x, and that's the formula y in terms of x. B. Find y when x equals 100. So, what is y when x equals 100? So the next line of working would be to do the square root of 100. Y equals 160 divided by 10. So y is going to equal 16. That would be my B. And finally, for C, again starting with the same formula, y equals 160 divided by the square root of x. X when y equals 5. So, 5 equals 160 divided by the square root of x. Again, at this point, we can't square it, cancel the square root. We've got to rearrange the sum first. So we've got the square root of x equals 160 divided by 5. So 160 divided by 160 divided by 5 gives me 32. So the square root of x equals 32. Okay. And now remember, if I want to cancel the square root, you do the opposite. So we're going to square it. So we're going to square 32. Okay. X in that case would be 32 squared, which is 1024. And that would be my answer to C. Okay, hopefully you found this useful in relation to inversely and direct proportion. If you can try and remember it in the format of inversely proportionate is just k divided by the variable, whereas direct proportion is k multiplied by the variable. And that's all you need to remember. Okay, thank you very much.